So I'd like now to pass the microphone to Martin Taylor, the CRDCN Executive Director, and Leila Boussaid, Director of Operations and Integration Division at Statistics Canada, whose session will focus on the future of data at CRDCN. Martin and Leila, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Joanne, and welcome to all who have joined us this morning. We're delighted to have you for this Data Forum 2022. It's no exaggeration to say that data is the lifeblood of our Canadian Research Data Centre network. And as we'll be hearing about from Leila in a few minutes, the infusion of new blood into the network ensures the ongoing vitality of what we do. Moreover, new means of accessing those data through the Virtual Research Data Centre platform that we will be implementing over the next year enables growth, productivity, and increased impact of all that we do. It's no coincidence that in our acronym CRDCN, D is the central letter. D for data, as central to our name and our mission. It's really the raison d'etre for the partnership, the very strong and healthy partnership we have with Statistics Canada. In many respects, the CRDCN serves as the bridge between the rich reservoir of microdata that's available to us from Statistics Canada and the bridge to our research community of over 2,000 active researchers in 33 and a growing number of partner universities with affiliates across the country. Data access is, of course, a pillar of our strategic plan. The first objective of which is to facilitate data access and training. And new data coming into the system is therefore central to the ongoing success and impact of all that we do. And I'm delighted to be able to announce, for those of you who don't know, that the network has just been renewed for 6 years with major federal funding through the Canada Foundation for Innovation and through the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council and the Canadian Institutes for Health Research. And as we put in those fulsome applications to renew our funding, it was indeed the opportunity to access new data and therefore continue to vitalize all of what we do that was central to that fundamental success. So data are the lifeline for our CRDCN programs. They obviously are the basis on which robust research can be conducted. And of course, it's the most robust research we can do because of the very nature of those microdata that allows us to do such detailed disaggregate analysis. Those data are central to our training activities. We have the privilege of supporting well over 700 graduate students, the next generation of data scientists in this country, as a consequence then of them being able to mine and analyze in sophisticated ways those data sets. And those data, of course, are central to our knowledge mobilization activities. The ability to inform key areas of public policy, reinforced, quite frankly, by what we've gone through in these last 2 years, as we think all the more about the vital importance of evidence bases for thinking about the big challenges, social, economic, cultural, and health and environmental that face our country. We're delighted that we are going to be able to offer enhanced access. One of the things that obviously our research community, many of you I'm sure on the line have been waiting for, is remote access, as well as the existing physical access to the data through the research data centers on our various campuses across the country. This enhanced access through remote as well as physical access to the data will democratize in many respects the data and the growth of the network as a consequence. It will enable us, I think, to fulfill equity, diversity, and inclusion priorities, as well as we've just heard from Aaron, enhanced access to data that will allow us to address key Indigenous issues. As well as we'll hear from Leila in a moment, the ability to broaden data sets for addressing key health and environmental issues. What you're going to hear in the various sessions that follow this one are essentially showcases of the opportunities that have been reaped by reason of recently available data within the research data centers. And those showcases, I think, as we bring together CRDCN researchers with Statistics Canada and other data specialists, just reinforce the fact that these data are indeed the ones that are the reason for our being, and the ways in which then we enrich our research, training and knowledge mobilization activities. And just as these more recent data opportunities make that so clear, so all the more so as new data come into the system, so those opportunities will be further enlarged. I really want to express my appreciation for those researchers who have agreed to join us together with the Statistics Canada data specialists to take us through these showcase examples. And I'm also delighted that we've been able, just after 2 o'clock, to have a keynote international panel. And I'm delighted that we will have senior colleagues from the United States, from the UK, as well as one of our lead researchers to discuss the vital connection between, on the one hand, protecting the privacy and security and confidentiality of the microdata, at the same time as wanting to enable those data to be part of a public engagement and public outreach activity, balancing then the stewardship and the guardianship of the data that's so essential to all that we are involved in doing. So I'm going to pass the baton now to Leila Boussaid. Leila and I work very closely together, and I'm delighted that we're able to do that. To have a Director General within Statistics Canada is a huge privilege to join us today. So Leila, over to you to provide us with a perspective on some of the new data opportunities that will be coming to us soon. Leila, to you.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you for the invitation to talk about. So I'm going to give you some high-level idea of what data is coming up the pipeline, but before, I just want to highlight the successful and strong partnership that we have at StatsCan with CRDCN for more than 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken. And that partnership enabled a lot of our academic researchers to leverage the vast quantity of ever-growing data sets that we have. Give you an idea, the researchers have accessed more than 900, and you hear it well, 900 confidential microdata files so far, and from a broad range of social economic topics. We go from health data to census and the linkages, which is the most popular one. So today I'm not going to discuss of what we have done and the impact, etc., because that's going to be the panel discussion. I want to give you a scoop and focus my 5 minutes here on what's coming in the pipeline. And also to give you what's coming in the pipeline, and if we can provide you a little bit more details on that if you need to later on. So I can't start that without talking about census. Okay, so February was this year marked the first of the 7 themes releases of the 2021 census of population. We talked about population of dwelling count. So the last release will be November 30th. We'll be talking about education in Canada. But stay tuned for next Monday, on the 26th, it will be data about immigration, place of birth, and citizenship. So what am I saying that? It's because the census microdata for researchers will be available in RDC this spring, 2023. So that's very exciting. A lot of you are aware the access to business data has already been expanded in a lot of the RDC. But I wanted to share with you that there's additional files that will be added into the repository this fall. And when I mean this fall, technically it's finished December 21st, in case I have a question on that. Some of the files is for the first time ever. The Census of Agriculture will be available with the release of the 2021 and 26 files to the RDC. And also the most anticipated, they tell me, anticipated business microdata file called BEAM. I think it's the rock star of the economic data files there. It's the business employee analytical microdata. So this is coming up also this fall, so stay tuned. We'll have the nursing and residential care facility data for 20 and 21 that will be released this calendar year. And we're extending, also updating the relevance and longitudinal files to reflect the most current years of data, and the new linkages will be available again this fall. So in StatsCan, we always continue to strive to collect data that's not only timely, but also capturing the current and emerging trend. And COVID data collection is no exception to it. Some of you may already know, but there's a lot of data already available on COVID to researchers with the impact of the COVID on Canadian data collection series, once again in the field. But there's also new ones coming with the before and after school care in Canada. I wanted to take a few minutes also to share with you an initiative, because you know as much as I do that there's data knowledge gap that exists. So the government has provided StatsCan over a 5-year period to implement what's called a disaggregated data action plan. We call it here internally DDAP. And the goal of it is to fill some of these gaps that we have. So the funding will support more representative data collection. It will enhance statistics on diverse population, and it will support to address systemic racism, gender gaps, and bring fairness and inclusion consideration into the decision-making. This is an important initiative within StatsCan. And giving you an idea of the work that's being done throughout the DDAP initiative is there will be enhanced data collection for LFS, Labor Force Survey, as well as for the GSS, which is the General Social Survey, as well as CCHS for the Canadian Community Health Survey. But we're also doing some new data collection coming our way. One of the newest collection project is about the Canadian Social Survey. It's called the CSS. And this is a new data collection project that's aimed to rapidly disseminate information to improve the understanding that we have and you have on social issue. And we're going to do that by conducting survey on different social topics. We're going to do surveys about health, about well-being, about impact of COVID, activity, time use, and emergency preparedness. There's another one coming also within that initiative. It's called the Survey Series on People and Their Commitment. And the goal of it is to increase participation from racialized Canadian, immigrants to Canada, and other groups that are often unrepresented in survey. Knowing that there's 1 in 5 Canadian of over the age of 15 that's reporting one or more disability in 2017, we're pleased to share that the 2022 iteration of the Canadian Survey on Disability is currently right now in collection. Mental health. Mental health continue to remain a priority for investment. So there's a new mental health and access to care survey. We call it MHACS, will be launched early this year. That was launched early this year. Will provide new information about the mental health status of Canadian, as well as their access to and need for services and support. So I can go on, but I just wanted to give you a sense of a lot of these new data that are coming by December, by spring, but also the initiative and collection that's going to be happening within the DDAP initiative. But also keep in mind, we're also trying within my team to increase the number of data files available, also through our TRA. And for researchers to be able to disseminate table at a lower level geographic, there's also PUMF that we're also putting a lot of focus on. So the combination of the recently added data set, those that are in the pipeline that I just discussed, as well as all the initiative from DDAP, will ensure an accelerated flow of linked, administrative, and survey data for CRDCN researcher and to access. So very exciting, a lot of movement within CRDCN and StatsCan, and I hope this data will be, as I said, available soon, and that you can use it and hopefully in the newer feature in an authorized workspace that could be in your office, that could be at home, and that we can see the result of this data into your research. So I hope I gave some excitement of what's coming up. I will be happy to share a little bit more info about all the different initiatives as well as the survey with the academic director, and that can provide you within your RDC that information more in details. So I'm going to give back the mic to Martin to close that panel side of on our end. But I thank you again for that opportunity to share with you what's coming up. So thank you.
And thank you, Leila. And you certainly whetted, I hope, the appetite of many. And there'll be Q&A coming up. And I think some of that is being responded to offline. Just to clarify perhaps some of the files that will be available to us relatively soon. But I think what we've seen over the 20-year history of the CRDCN working with Statistics Canada has been an accelerating flow of data files. And what you're describing, obviously, is a further evidence of how that acceleration is continuing. And I know when I came into this position a number of years ago, the message that I got from a number of our researchers was the vital need for more access to administrative data and to access to linked data. And I think a number of the new initiatives that you've described, and indeed a number of the showcase examples we're about to hear, exemplify exactly that. The way in which those combinations of administrative and linked data are so vital to address not only the questions that are at the forefront of research, but are equally valuable and vital to informing key areas of public policy that many of our researchers now are engaged with. So thank you.
If I may jump into it, Martin, you're absolutely right. And please, in this forum, take the time also to express the needs and through the CRDCN, etc. Because the data, if it's not being used, it's worth nothing. Right. So we're collecting it because there's a need that has been expressed. There's a need in the society. So that right decision are being taken. So I invite you all to express the type of research or data that you need for your future research, that, and through the CRDCN and Joanne's work and Martin's teamwork, we're here to listen. And I hope that we showcased, we have listened to you and will continue to listen to your need. So, and now the ball is on your corner to use it. So please do use it. Tell us the feedback and what do you need to make your life easier, because we're here, frankly, for you, to serve you, to make your life easier so that you can make research available and change the outlook for all Canadians.
Thanks again, Leila. And just referencing what our central team is doing, you will have seen many of you a rotating deck if you joined us earlier on. That does indeed indicate some of those initiatives that are ongoing, whereby as our central staff team, led by Joanne's team especially as our research program director, is indeed vital to that bridging the gap between the researchers and the data to make sure that that gap is indeed closed and you are fully aware of all the opportunities that are available to you, and a two-way exchange, as Leila is indicating, can happen, so that your needs are being satisfactorily and effectively expressed to Statistics Canada. And just as you've heard from Leila, Statistics Canada's initiatives are being promoted and described to you. So thank you so much again, Leila, and I will hand it back to our staff team with thanks to all of you for listening.
All right, well, thank you, Leila. Thank you, Martin. We'll look forward to seeing you again, Martin, for closing remarks in a few hours.